Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 124
on Now You Know. As always, we're sponsored by our wonderful Patreons, and we're sponsored by the Schaumburg, Illinois Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott.
Now, why this particular Marriott?
You remember it's the one that's solar powered?
Of course.
And has EV charging, and I went there, and everyone's super friendly and awesome. All right, so some big news that came out that affects us for sure is the end of the referral program. Fred from Electric tweeted out, the current round was supposed to run until March 11th, so it's ending for good, not just this round.
And Elon said, yes, it's ending on February 1st. It's adding too much cost to the cars, especially Model 3.
Now, Emmett Spiegel said, will there be another referral program?
Elon says, no, the whole referral incentive system will end. Must order before February 1st.
So that means that, first of all, there's only a week and a half or so for you to order your Model 3 or S or X using someone's referral code. And just putting a plug in here, we're giving rides in the Roadster.
Right, and we're still giving out our code. Now, this is crazy. This has never happened before. We have had our code out there for people to use and for us to go visit you in a Roadster. If you use our code, that is now ending. Now, a lot of people are saying, Zach and Jesse, it's you guys that ruined it.
Yeah.
You ruined the referral program.
Yeah, it's you YouTubers.
You YouTubers getting all these free Roadsters.
Yeah, so people are putting the blame, on us.
Right. So, I mean, if we take a look here at the top 10, you can see your name's on the list. You're in the top 10.
But I'm going to clear something up, Jesse.
What?
If you scroll down just one more, look whose name is there.
Hey, that's me.
Yeah. So, actually, just to be factual,
factually,
add up those two lines, and you get to...
Wow, that's well over 300 people. Wait a minute. That means, together, collectively, we're number one in the world.
Yeah. We've referred more people to get a Tesla than anybody that we know of in the world. I mean, that's over 300 people that have used our referral code that we're going to go meet in a Roadster. And I want to point out something. We could have stopped at 55, right? Because you needed 5 initial ones and then to open the program, and then 50 to get you to a free Roadster. We could have just stopped and said, we're going to visit 50 people. That's the end. We didn't do that. Why?
We want to share this experience with as many people as possible. So we're going to go out and we're going to be visiting over 300 people with this Roadster. We also earned a European Roadster. We have to visit all of those people in Europe.
Right.
We tried to do our best to get out there as much as possible, and it's about visibility. When people are going to be posting these videos of you going 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds on Facebook, people are going to go, what the heck was that?
And I do want to point out, putting it on your feed, for instance, on your Instagram or your Facebook, is going to get out to all of your friends, and you'll start conversations that are different than any other kind of conversation, because they're going to ask you specific questions like, oh my God, what was that like being in the car?
Right.
And you'll be able to tell them. That is hugely important, because that is starting a whole new branch of communications that never would have happened.
So I'm going to posit a little thought nugget here.
Ooh, thought nugget.
I think that the referral program really lost a lot of its luster as soon as they got rid of the $1,000 off and free supercharging for life. I think that once that perk went away for buyers, for people buying the car, there was not much incentive for people to actually use a referral code. And it kind of just became, what are the added incentives that a referrer could give out? So in our case, we'll visit you in a Roadster. If you use someone else's code, you probably won't get a visit in the Roadster.
Right. No, that's a really good point, because what they should have done, in my opinion, is morphed the program to meet the needs of both parties, right? Like, let's say I'm showing you off my new Model 3, right? And I'm trying to get you excited. I could say, hey, and by the way, if you use my referral code, you'll get this.
Right.
Well, giving 6 months of free supercharging, okay, it sounds nice, but let's be honest. You just got a car. Are you able to use full 6 months of free supercharging?
I mean, technically, but I did buy it in December, which means that by June, it'll be gone. And so all of those road trips that I have planned for July and August, well, I'm going to be paying for them.
Right. And so it's not that big a thing. They should have given away something that really made a difference to most people. Now, it doesn't have to be something that costs a lot of money. And Elon did have some good ideas. For instance, he was giving away the ability to put something into a time capsule that'll go off into space.
Right.
Like,
that's really cool.
Amazing.
That's something you can't buy.
Right.
You can't go to hardly any company and be like, hey, I would like you to take this coaster and put it into a time capsule and send it into space. You can't get that.
That's something you can talk about with your friends for the rest of your life. Like,
Right.
I have something in space now. And it costs them literally practically nothing because they were going to launch it onto a space flight that was going up anyway.
Right.
So that was brilliant. Why not continue the program with things like that? Now, many people have blamed YouTubers like us for the referral program going away. Maybe that's true. Okay. Maybe Tesla looked at the number of Roadsters they were going to have to give away and said, that's too expensive. But if you look at the numbers, I think it paints a different story, and I think doing away with the program is a mistake, and here's why. Over 2,300 people have sold 5 or more cars, and in fact, those 2,300 people have sold 24,399 cars.
Wow.
If you value each car at an average of $80,000, that's $1.95 billion in cars that those 2,300 people have helped sell.
Wow.
The cost to Tesla for that, there's things like rims you can win, a toy car, jackets, luggage, chargers. And let's say that those things combined for each person who got 5 referrals costs $3,000.
Okay, but I mean, today you can't win a jacket or luggage. You're basically, the only things you're going to be getting from Tesla are rims and a toy car.
Right.
Okay.
So, but I'm just valuing that at $3,000. It might be a little high. I don't know. But if that's true, that's $73 million that Tesla has to spend. Plus, there's the Roadsters.
Right.
So for the Roadsters, there's 66 people who have earned at least one Roadster. And I think a Roadster has about a 50% margin. So I think that Tesla is spending $125,000 on each Roadster.
I see.
So that's $8.25 million.
Okay.
Plus, there's 22 more people who have earned at least 2 Roadsters. So that's $2.75 million. And there's about 10 people who have earned 3 Roadsters. So that's another $1.25 million.
Right.
So,
and that's even if they do that.
Right. We don't even know. It might just be that you get one, but whatever. If that's true, then the total cost for the program was $85.25 million or $3,500 roughly per car. Now, you might be saying, yeah, see, those Roadsters, that jacked up the cost. But if you look at it, the total cost for giving away the rims, the toy cars, the chargers, the jackets, the luggage, and all that, that was $7.1 million for 5,510 cars sold, which works out to $1,288 per car.
Okay.
But there was 1,100 people who kept pushing past those 5 referrals to try and get the Roadster. Those people sold a total of 12,416 cars, and it cost in Roadsters $12.25 million. So that's $986 per car. That's about $300 less than the rims and the toy car and stuff. So I just pointing out mathematically,
Right.
the Roadsters sold more cars, cost less.
Right.
So it wasn't a bad decision. And in fact, Tesla's not spending a penny on the Roadsters right now. That money's going to come out of future, like whenever that happens, 2020, 2021.
It's a good point. So right now, they don't have any accounting principle where they can say, oh, we had a loss this quarter.
Right.
Because the Roadsters don't exist.
Right.
And they're not making them. They don't have the production line to make them.
So my argument would be, keep going with the program. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. I don't think that they have to keep giving away Roadsters at this rate or even give them away at all. They can change the program, but keep the referral program going because it's working. I mean, they've got a Boring Company. How about give off, free tickets to future Boring Company rides when the Boring Company is open? Or the SpaceX thing, like free possible chance to win a ticket to the moon. I mean, things that won't really cost them much because, first of all, they're other companies, and that are wicked cool that no other company could offer.
It's true. I mean, it's a good point. Right. I don't think that they even need to do anything quite as expensive as they've done on the referral program.
Totally agree.
I think that if you refer a car to someone and you got a shirt, so you could go down to your local Tesla showroom, this is sort of back when they sold shirts at those places, and you'd kind of walk up and say, hi, my name is Jesse, and here's my account information. And they say, oh, Jesse, you've earned yourself a shirt. Congratulations. And take your pick of whatever you see up there.
Right.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
If I got a jacket, if I got a shirt, these are stuff that they're retailing for a profit, but don't cost them that much money.
Exactly.
And it would be an incentive for me, and it would get me back inside the store.
And it advertises for the company. You're walking around with Tesla gear on.
Right.
Exactly. So that's how we feel about the program. Right. So we've shown pictures of big pickup trucks parking in Tesla superchargers, blocking it from EVs being able to use it. Tesla has come up with a solution, and they've been showing this in China at some of their Chinese locations. This is a gadget that basically, what do you do?
So it looks like you'd arrive at the supercharger, you'd pull out your phone, you'd take a picture. The car's cameras might, pick up this QR code on the wall, but at some point you need to take a picture of the QR code, and then this little bar will go down, allowing you to back into the supercharging spot. It's interesting. I don't think that this was designed for traditional being iced.
What do you mean? Like,
I think that it is for being iced, but it is not the American version of iced.
what's the American version of the
Well, pickup trucks, lifted pickup trucks. A lifted pickup truck can
could
easily
drive
right over that.
Okay.
It depends on the
So
truck.
you just make it bigger.
Well, there's a couple other issues in this particular one.
All
and
right.
you can see from the picture that it's indoors. It's on an indoor parking garage,
Sure.
which means that there's no snow, which means that you don't need to plow. If you have to plow this, you are in big trouble. Either the plow won't see those, and that'll be expensive for both the plow company and Tesla, or those spots don't get plowed.
What if it's flush with the ground, so it's embedded into the ground?
I think that those are probably a good solution. I think that this is a hacky method of doing it. I think that there could be a better way to roll it out. Again, keep in mind the scope of what we're talking about here. It's not such a pervasive issue. It's just that when it happens, it's really unpleasant.
Right. So Jesse and I reviewed the Voro Motors ECruise e-scooter, and pretty cool scooter.
Yeah.
When we were getting it, I thought, well, this is just another scooter.
Right. And I mean, there's sticker shock with this scooter. You're like, whoa. Like, I can get a Show Me for like, $600. This one is double that. I think that the point of it is to replace a car, is for commuting.
Oh, really?
Where you are like, I don't feel like biking, but I do want to commute, and I can, you could almost eliminate a car, depending on your climate. Like if you live in California, if you're in LA or something like that, and you have a good enough bike route or some kind of route to get you to work and back, this could be eliminating the need to buy a car, pay for insurance, pay for gas, maintenance, everything like that, and that would you'd have a huge net savings. That's my biggest thought about the Voro Motors.
Because it has super range. It has this one had 62 miles of range.
Right.
And then it has these big 10-inch tires with suspension on both tires,
which was really nice compared to the Show Me.
We need a new name. Scooter conjures up the idea of those tiny like Lime scooters, which are great. I mean, they're fine. But
this is kind of like it's in between a moped and a scooter. I think the ECruise is a good name for it. It's kind of a cruiser.
Because when I've been doing like the Lime scooter out in LA, you got to really watch the road in terms of like bumps and stuff like that, like cracks in the asphalt. Because if you take one of those wrong, you're going to fly off. Whereas this thing, because it's beefy, you can hit bumps and tree roots and stuff without any problem.
Right.
So, I mean, it's really comfortable for longer commutes.
Right.
I think it's a really cool possibility for people that, because it's about half the price of an e-bike.
It's true.
So, I mean, it's not that expensive when you think of it that way, and the range is stupendous. So, it's a lot of fun. You might want to check it out. So, you remember Lisbeth and Edwin, they went all the way to Antarctica in a recycled plastic solar tracker machine run completely on solar energy.
Right.
They didn't make it to the South Pole like they wanted because the weather was so awful. Luckily, our friend Howard, who's in the newsroom, went to the Netherlands and interviewed Edwin and Lisbeth. We have the whole interview that's going to be coming out on Friday on our channel. But he did a great job. It's like a 45-minute interview, really stupendous to watch. We have awesome footage and photos from their trip in the interview. Moving. Like, these people are incredible.
Right. I mean, I can't believe you can take... I part of me knew in some plastics engineering mindset of like, you could recycle plastics and turn it into something useful, but turning it into something that you could ship to Antarctica and then drive around on Antarctica, not burning anything, that's something that really pushes your imagination.
If you want to be inspired, these are two people that 2.5 years ago were just like you and me having dinner, and then one night they changed their mind.
Right.
And that change allowed them to do something that probably none of us will ever do.
Right.
It was a mind-bogglingly ambitious endeavor, and they succeeded. It's just incredible. I really suggest you go take a look at it. Thank you so much to Howard for going and interviewing them. He did a great job.
Yep.
I'm just so proud of our newsroom and of all these amazing people in our community who do this for us.
Right, and introduced us to them.
This is really interesting. Check this out, Jesse.
Is it a car? Is it a bird? Is it a plane?
Is it a bike?
It's called PodRide.
Yep.
And it's sort of a mix between a car and a bike, heavily weighted towards bike, or not weighted, I suppose, heavily lightened towards bike.
Right. I mean, it's got 4 wheels, but it has a lot of the agility of a bike.
Right.
It's indoors enough to kind of keep you out of the elements, but yet it's super light, super narrow, so you can get it through doors and stuff. Anyway, it's being developed by a Swedish company that did like an Indiegogo campaign, and supposedly later this year they will come out with their first pod rides.
That's
so
really cool.
I wanted to share it with you guys because I think for some people, obviously it's a very niche.
It's not going to be
product,
everyone's cup of tea.
But for those of you who like, oh, it's cold where I am, I don't want to ride a bike, but I don't want to use, a car, this might solve the problem. It's just so cool how many new ideas are coming out. All right, so get this, Jesse. We talk a lot about this on the channel, that fossil fuels have bigger impacts and bigger costs than we normally associate with them, right?
Okay.
So this study came out and showed that G20 governments spent $444 billion on oil, gas, and coal subsidies in 2014 alone. So when you see gas at like $2.19,
Right.
there's a reason why it's so cheap.
Interesting.
Your government helped to pay for it, right?
Right.
So this new study by the Health and Environment Alliance estimates that the use of those same fossil fuels leads to $2.76 trillion in health costs in those G20 countries thanks to air pollution.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's absolutely insane. Dr. Brundtland from the WHO estimates that 6.5 million people die each year because of air pollution exposure. All right, I'm an oil executive. All right?
Yeah.
I get paid subsidies from the government to help me drill my oil out of the ground. And I know that oil kills some people, but how much would you say your life is worth, young man?
Like all of my experiences and my interactions with other people.
Yeah. How much you worth?
Like, I don't know, like $1 billion, maybe $10 billion. Depends on
No.
what?
$68,307.69. That's what you're worth.
No. I mean, I am worth more than that. I mean, I deserve more than that.
It's not what you deserve, boy. That's what you pay us to drill the oil out of the ground and kill you.
So you're saying per person, each person that dies, basically $68,000, $307.69 was spent to kill that person.
But yeah, by your government.
How much are hitmen? I mean, isn't it just cheaper to hire a bunch of hitmen? If you can't you get a group rate or something? I mean, what if you're
Like a Groupon for hitmen. I like that.
Like, what is the actual point? How could you actually do this? Because, we're just talking about deaths here. I mean, we've already mentioned the $2.76 trillion in health costs. That's what you pay. That's when you go to the doctor and you pay them to give you medicine, to fix you, do surgery, whatever. That does not count the IQ of your children. You can't go to the doctor and say, hey, doc, Timmy's he's acting a little slow. How much to get him back up to where he should be? There's nothing.
Nope.
No, his brain is just maldeveloped. It's never going to be as smart as if you took him somewhere else where there was no pollution, or if there was no pollution.
Right.
So you can't even put a value on that because there's no saying what Jimmy could have invented.
Right.
What he could have come up with, what he could have done with his life had he not had his IQ lowered by pollution.
Right.
That is just one externality that completely isn't even covered with these studies.
That's right. So at a recent interview, GM CEO Mary Barra was questioned about their entry into the EV car market. And, well, what did Mary Barra say?
She said, well, what I would say is we've been very clear. We believe in an all-EV future. We've invested heavily in fuel cells as well, but beyond that, I don't have anything specific to say. But I think if you look at where our very strong statements are believing in an all-EV future, stay tuned.
She's a CEO of a car company, and her statement about EVs was that?
Stay tuned, folks. So, I mean, it could mean a couple of different things. Now, it could mean that they have this great plan that they just aren't allowed to tell anyone yet.
Why wouldn't she just say, we have a great plan we can't tell you about yet?
Or
she talked about fuel cells.
Right.
She says we're heavily invested in fuel cells. That's the giveaway there.
Right. If you
those words shouldn't even come out of your mouth.
Right. You should be embarrassed to be talking about fuel cells.
Because where's that going, folks?
Right.
Where do you charge up your fuel cell car?
Right. And where do you get the hydrogen for the fuel cells?
Yeah.
Natural gas, of course.
So we always tie GM and Ford stories together, but looks like we're doing it again this week because Ford came out and said they are electrifying their Ford F-150 truck.
So Jim Farley, Ford's president of global markets, said at the Deutsche Bank Global Automotive Conference in Detroit, we are going to be electrifying the F-Series, battery electric and hybrid.
That's great.
Right.
That's awesome. They get it. They want to have an electric pickup truck.
Right.
They must have seen like the Rivian and the Tesla pickup truck coming.
Right.
They get it. That's so awesome.
The weird thing, though, is that this was not like an announcement. This was just, he wasn't talking to the general public. He wasn't saying like, get ready, folks, for the Ford F-150. It's going to be coming out in just a few years. He didn't say that. This was at basically an investor conference. So the investors were like, where the heck is the electric pickup truck? You have Rivian breathing down your neck and Tesla, who is going to be coming out with a pickup truck at some point, and they're going to be competing. What do you guys have to show for it?
So this sounds like what happened at like one of the board meetings was they're like, what are we going to do about electric pickup trucks?
Right.
Why don't we send Jim down to that conference and have him talk it up and see how it goes? Like we'll float the idea.
Right.
And if it goes well, then great. If it doesn't, we'll all say, I don't know who Jim is.
Right. I'm very confused as to why, if they're going to do this, which apparently they are, they're going to be electrifying. They're going to make a hybrid electric and a battery electric.
Okay, but this doesn't exclude making an ICE F-150.
No, of course.
So this might just mean they're adding that to the lineup.
Right. And then, of course, how do you sell it? Because if you're at a Ford dealership, they're going to be like,
Exactly.
you don't want that thing. Here's the actual.
In fact, we don't have any of those
we
to
don't
show
have
you.
that one. We always get a lot of flack for, poo-pooing all of these, traditional automakers, EVs. That people are saying, what are you doing?
You're picking on Ford all the time.
EVs are good. Why are you saying that these EVs are bad? I'm not saying that these particular EVs are bad. If you want a Bolt, get a Bolt. That's awesome. Thank you. But when we're talking about companies like Ford and GM, they are creating cars that are ruining the planet. And so you have this company who is hurting the world saying, don't worry, we're gonna make these clean cars, but we're also gonna make the dirty, awful ones. Right. It's sort of like if you had a drug lord, right? And he was like, hey, I know that I make a lot of awful drugs. I sell a lot of drugs and they're really bad and they hurt people's lives, but don't worry, I'm gonna start selling apples too. And also some drugs that aren't as bad for you. They're still bad for you, but they're not as bad for you as the other drugs that I make. That's the analogy. I mean, that is what they're saying. They're saying, don't worry, we're going to start selling some apples instead of meth.
Right.
That is...
But we're still going to keep selling meth.
We're going to keep selling the meth, but there'll be an apples at some places, maybe. That's what, that's the thing. That is what I'm trying to say. When I'm poo-pooing all of these EVs from traditional automakers, it's because they are not turning face. They're not, and I know that they can't. Right? They can't just say tomorrow, okay, we've stopped making cars. We're just going to make EVs from now on. I know that they're in a pickle, but they are not turning as quickly as they could.
They could.
Right?
Tesla doesn't sell any ICE cars, and it's making money.
Exactly. And Tesla is tiny. They have a growing market share, but these traditional car manufacturers tomorrow could say,
they could.
We're going to change everything.
Right.
Get
right
ready
now.
for it.
Exactly. They could be working behind the scenes so that like in 2020, like a year from now, no more ICE cars.
Right. I mean, those companies that switch the fastest, I think, are going to be remembered the kindest in history.
You say those companies that change the fastest, a lot of these companies are not going to change at all.
And they won't make it.
No.
I mean, that's just the crux of the issue is that like, as much as I would love to be like, oh, cool, the Porsche Taycan, sick, it looks great, it drives great, I'm excited about it. I'm glad that they're actually putting in fast chargers. But not a lot of people can afford them, and they still sell gas-powered Porsches.
Right.
So it's not really, it's
It's a false argument.
Yeah, I don't care.
Now, a lot of people ask us, well, Zach and Jesse, if I buy an EV, isn't it dirtier than an ICE car because your EV is plugged into a grid that is, coal power plants and stuff like that? And we keep telling you that's not true, but here we go. Bloomberg says it's not true. Bloomberg says that EVs are cleaner. So Colin McCarricher, who's a transport analyst at BNEF, Bloomberg, says when an internal combustion vehicle rolls off the line, its emissions per kilometer are set. But for an EV, they keep falling each year as the grid gets cleaner. So while technological improvements will see related emissions for combustion engines falling by about 1.9% per year through 2040, they claim at Bloomberg that pollution from electric vehicles will fall anywhere from 3% to 10% annually.
Right. And keep in mind, this is Bloomberg, so this is super conservative.
Yeah, because look at this chart here. So this is the forecast of grid emissions from different cars in different countries, right, that are electric. And that line at the top is the emissions from ICE cars.
Oof. You see that it's never intersecting. It is always worse.
Even starting today.
And, even if tomorrow you were like, okay, I'm going to buy an electric car, but I'm afraid that my grid is dirty, there are ways where you can source your power from clean, renewable sources. So, for instance, where I live, I can source all of my electricity from wind.
Yep.
So I pay a little bit more every month to just get it from wind. So that way I know that when I plug in, I'm not burning any coal.
Yeah, or use community solar,
right?
Which a lot of times is cheaper,
right? But and that doesn't, and you can also put solar panels on your roof. There are many different solutions to get absolutely zero emissions from driving your car.
But here's the thing: look at this chart again, and it looks very linear, right? Because let's face it, Bloomberg is very conservative with their estimates. This is not one of these S curves that we talk about.
Right.
So look at this next chart here, and you'll see that even though the grid is getting cleaner and cleaner according to Bloomberg, it's again a linear line.
Right.
Which, let's be honest, is not the way it's going to be. It's going to be a very steep curve.
Right. Renewables are already cheaper than coal.
Right. So
they're approaching natural gas in how cheap they are.
So think about that for a second, folks. If something is cheaper than coal, are you going to keep buying coal power plants?
No.
All right, it's time for the lightning round.
Here we go.
All right, one of our viewers in Korea shared a new law that's going into effect on February 15th. On days with a high concentration of fine dust, private motor vehicles can only be driven in Seoul, Korea on alternate days based on whether the license plate number is even or odd. Furthermore, vehicles manufactured under the older emission standards, 2002 for diesel and 1987 for gas, will be banned on such days in Seoul, Incheon, and Gyeonggi Province. Let's just talk about Seoul for a second. In Seoul, Korea, 32 million car trips per day.
Wow.
So on days where there's a lot of fine dust in the air...
Fine dust, it's fine particulate that comes from car engines.
And these cities are so polluted, they had to pass a law to try and clean it up.
Right.
And so why do you think EVs are going to be selling through the roof?
Exactly.
Because
cities like this, you're not going to be able to drive anything.
You're not going to be able to go to work.
Exactly.
So Seattle's Puget Sound ferry system, with its 23 ferries, is the largest ferry system in the U.S. I learned that the other day.
I can't even believe that.
Yeah.
Just 23? That's it?
Yeah. But I mean, it's a lot of ferries. I mean, they got to get cars going and coming and going all day long. They're all diesel right now.
Ugh.
But the state of Washington is getting $117 million from the VW scandal settlement. Remember how VW had to give billions of dollars? Well, if the state legislature in Washington state passes the funding, which we think they will, they'll be able to take all their 23 ferries and make them electric by 2023.
Wow. And so this would save 30 tons of CO2 per engine annually.
There's been a Tesla airbag recall in China. 14,000 Model S's in China are being recalled because of the Takata airbag issue. You remember that? There's 40 million cars worldwide that had to be recalled. So this isn't specific to Tesla. But you know what is kind of different about this story is that Tesla technically didn't have to require the replacement of the airbags because it was only for regions that are designated as high humidity.
Interesting.
But Tesla decided to not take any chances and recall all of them. So this will affect 14,000 vehicles that were produced between 2014 and 2016 to get their airbags replaced.
Interesting.
Now, another Chinese story. According to this story in Inside EVs, the Chinese government is preventing new Chinese EV startups that produce less than 100,000 vehicles a year from getting a business license because there's already a glut of 500 EV startups capable of producing 20 million EVs by 2020.
Wow.
That's 10 times more than the Chinese government's target of 2 million per year.
Wow.
Now, let's be clear. Most of these companies are not making like Neos and Byton kind of cars. They're making overgrown golf carts. Very dangerous looking, very puny.
Very small.
Which, I mean, let's be honest, a lot of people in China want. They just need something to get to work, and it doesn't have to be
And they don't have to worry
fancy.
about parking, and they don't have to worry about everything else.
China saw its first drop in car sales last year, the first time since 1990.
Wow.
They had a drop of 5.8% to 22.3 million cars sold. Now, the cool news here is that EV sales last year jumped 61.7%.
If we look at this analytically, 22.3 million cars sold last year, and if these companies could make 20 million EVs, that could be
Problem solved.
all new cars in China could be EVs.
Right.
And that isn't even including Tesla.
I know. So the International Council on Clean Transportation released a study last week that showed that between 2001 and 2017, the average official CO2 emission values of new European cars decreased from 170 grams per kilometer to 119 grams per kilometer over the new European driving cycle, or the NEDC standard. That's a 30% decline.
Yay!
Not so fast.
What?
The official CO2 emissions values are determined in a controlled laboratory environment. The gap between real-world and official CO2 emissions values grew steadily between the early 2000s and 2016, so effectively canceling out 2/3 of the on-paper efficiency improvements since 2001. Now, that was a lot of gobbledygook, but basically what that meant was, you know how they test cars in labs? And in labs, they have controlled environment. They take a car, they put it into a lab, they put it on a dyno in controlled environments. It's not going up hills, it's not getting stuck in traffic. And they put a tube onto the exhaust pipe, and they go, hey, look, we made it a lot cleaner this year than last year's car.
I see, but it's not reflecting rear-wheel driving conditions. You're probably, getting it up to like 30 miles an hour or whatever's the most engine efficient.
Right.
And then you're being like, look at this. This car is super efficient. Wow, check this out, guys. It's super cool.
You might be saying, well, maybe that was just a couple cars they tested. No, 1.3 million passenger cars from 15 different data sources in 8 European countries were tested.
Right.
So this shows that basically over the past decade and a half, it's just been one giant lie.
Right.
Most of those cleaner cars are not much cleaner at all.
Right.
All right, it's time for video contributor stories. What do we got this week?
We have Daniel from the Czech Republic visiting Norway.
Hi, Zach and Jesse. I'm Daniel from Czech Republic, and now I'm on business trip in Norway, the country of Tesla Bjorn. And I feel like I have traveled into the future. There are electric cars everywhere, and I saw Teslas, Nissan Leafs, BMW i3s, Ioniqs, e-Golfs, and a bunch of other electric cars that I never seen before. Just the first day, I have counted 52 Teslas, mostly Model S's, and about 15 of them were Model X. I just can imagine how it will look like when Model 3 will come here. I have visited the Tesla store in here and finally have a chance to set in Tesla. Yeah, I still don't have a clear way how to get one myself yet. I wanted to make a Supercharger review for you, but there was no Supercharger close by at my location, but there were plenty of other chargers around, like next to McDonald's, on many gas stations, I think mostly done by ABB. That's also a nice company that I think deserves some street cred. Just check out some of the project they made. That's my bit of news. Take care and keep up the good work. See you.
Wow, that was a lot of EVs he saw.
I know, that's so cool. I just want to point out, you can be a video contributor too. You don't have to be a fancy video photographer, editor.
Yep.
Just go shoot something that was interesting to you. Make it under 2 minutes. Hopefully shoot it in landscape, which, you don't have to, but it'd be great if you did. And tell us what you find out.
Yep.
All right, it's time for our Patreon bonus stories.
For those of you who aren't aware, every week when we record Tesla Time News, we have some extra bonus stories. Some stories that we're like, I can't put this in the news because we can't show that video. Or we're like, oh, this is really funny, but it's not really news, but it is fun. And we put them in our bonus stories. And then we give those bonus stories to our patrons. So if you want, you can head over to patreon.com, find Now You Know, and support us for as little as $1 a month, and you will have access to all of our Patreon bonus stories. And
yeah, going back many episodes.
Many episodes, and you get them every single week, which means that you are only paying us $0.25 per Patreon bonus stories, and you're helping to support the show and our mission.
Yeah, let's go do it. All right, we're back from our Patreon bonus stories, and it's time for our Patreon shout-outs. These are very special people. These are people that give $5 a month or more to help us support our show. And we have lots of big plans in store, and we need to give them their shout-outs. So here we go.
Our first shout-out is for Alex Malcolman,
Anton Tonchev,
Liker,
Michael,
Cody Hatfield,
Richard Cathell,
Patrick Nordlund,
Sean Ramzan,
Donald Curry,
Michael Shend,
Lucas L. Cofield,
Ralph Fort,
Mark Schaffer,
Chris Stanton-Jones,
Travis Baker,
and Cody Flynn.
Thank you so much for supporting the show. This show wouldn't happen without the names of those people.
All right, it's time for Elon's tweets of the week.
Here we go.
And I'm really kind of proud this week, Jesse. You know why? Because one of our viewers, one of our dear friends, Remy in Belgium, he tweeted Elon, and Elon tweeted back.
So Remy said, "Hi, Elon. Model 3 owners can join Glovis Captain upon arrival in Zeebrugge, take our money and connect our cars to our Tesla account. We'll identify our cars with horn feature of the app. Just our 2 cents to solve the European delivery hell. Regards."
And Elon said,
Thanks. Good idea. So basically...
okay, first of all, can I just say,
Right.
if that ever happens to me, I just will be able to retire. If Elon if Elon says thanks, good idea, I'll put it on my tombstone, on my obituary. That would be that's just amazing to have Elon tell you have a good idea.
Okay, I mean, it is a good idea. So basically, you could go to where the ship is landing, docking. They could have some Tesla people there. You make your payments, sign whatever forms you need to do.
Do that online ahead of time.
And then you just, doop, doop, and then you get in your car and you drive away.
Love it.
It's a great idea.
Saves them a lot of time and money. All right, and this was a cool tweet. This was Daring G. He said, "Hey, Elon, my mom got into a car accident that totaled her car tonight. She's okay, but I suggested she get a Tesla next because of how long her commute is and how safe they are. She said, I'll get one if Elon tells me to. Can you please tell her to? My convincing failed." Elon said,
Tesla is the safest car according to the U.S. government testing. So I guess she's buying the car.
I need to know if she bought the car. That is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for community mail time.
Community mail time.
I have a challenge for you guys this week. I would love it if you guys would cancel one of those mailings that you get, in the snail mail that comes, from your bank or your insurance company that gives you some statement. I get those sometimes, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I should cancel that online, but I don't have time right now.
Right. Even when it's not like, they're not like, oh, you need to send this back and do this or that. It's like, you could send it back if you want, even though you already have autopay.
Right.
It's like, dude, you don't need to mail me a thing if I already have autopay on.
So here's my challenge.
Yeah.
Go just one of those snail mails that you got this week. Go online, take 5 minutes, whatever it takes, to make it so that it won't come again. That'll save a tree and save the planet, right? Because they won't have to put it in the mail truck, which then has to drive it to your house. It's just, if we all do it, it could add up to a lot. And post your comment below what you canceled that might inspire someone else.
And hey, you could do more than one.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you.
Just start at one, though. Felipe and Carl brought their white Model X, their blue Model S, and their red Model 3 for test drives in Brookfield, Wisconsin. I think that's so awesome when people are willing to give test rides. I mean, it wasn't an easy event even to bring them to because it was cold and everything, but they did it. Who knows how many minds they changed?
Oh, absolutely.
Carlos just wrote to us. He said, "Hey, Zach and Jesse, I am so glad to announce that I have just purchased my dream car, a Tesla Model 3 mid-range with white interior. Your channel has inspired me to become a huge Tesla fan and a true believer in the Tesla mission. I use your referral code in the hopes of helping this great channel, and I really think you guys are making a difference in changing the dialogue and perspective of people to go into sustainable energy. I'm also looking forward to the Roadster test drive, which should be a lot of fun."
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carlos.
Yeah,
That's
can't
a
wait to
good-looking
meet
car.
you. That's going to be fun.
Nice.
All right, it's time for our Patreon viewer question of the week. And this week, we're kind of asking you to help us. We want to know about Vampire Drain.
Right.
What is Vampire Drain?
Vampire Drain is when you leave your car out, not plugged in. Let's say you leave it at an airport or something like that for an extended period of time. You come back, the range will be less than when you left it.
Yeah, we get lots of questions from people. They're like, well, what can I expect if I go on a week-long vacation? When I come back, what will be gone from my car's battery? So we're collecting data. So there's a link down below in the show notes, which brings you to a Google form.
Right.
It's real quick and easy to fill out. And so the next time you leave your car, let's say overnight,
Right.
just before you leave the car, jot down in your smartphone or on a piece of paper, range, time, temperature.
Right.
Then when you come back out the next morning, jot down what's left in the battery,
Range, the time, and the temperature,
and then
average.
Then just go on
the
to our
temperature and
yes, average the temperature. So like, yeah, you can do all that.
Yeah.
And then go onto our form, fill it out. We're collecting this data because if we crowdsource the data, we should be able to get some really good data. Because the thing is, if you have a Model X in Florida, it's not the same as a Model 3 in Michigan. Like, so you really want to know. We're going to be able to figure that out if you help us.
All right. So please help us.
All right, it's time for Supercharger reviews. Let's see what we got this week.
Hey, Zach and Jesse, Ken Epstein here. We're in the Gila Bend Supercharger right off of Route 8. Gila Bend's a really interesting little town. It's one of those places where if you do more than 35 miles an hour, you're bound to get a ticket. So we try to stay at that speed or under going through town. There are, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think there are 8 stalls here at the Gila Bend Supercharger. I'm charging now on my way back from Yuma, and there's a couple places to eat. We have a Carl's Jr. right next door, right opposite me here, and then on the other side there's the Love's truck stop, which has a lot of stuff. Taco Bell, a bunch of other things. There's a McDonald's a little bit further down the road. I'd probably give this one about a 9 out of 10 because it's really convenient right off of Route 8. There's always a lot of traffic. I don't know the speed yet. I'm going to go check the speed on the charger, but just topping up a little bit. I probably could have made it home from Yuma on my charge that I have in the car now, but going to top it up a couple of % just to be sure. So that's it from Gila Bend. Again, Ken Epstein, and we're going to give it about an 8 or a 9. Very good. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Hi, Zach and Jesse. Mary here with another review of Supercharger. I'm in Philadelphia on 20th Street, just north of 676 and a little bit to the east of 76, going right through Philadelphia. This is a 10-stall charger. The big disadvantage for us is that you have to pay. It's a pay parking garage, and it's $5 for the first hour. So while we have free supercharging from Tesla this first year, it's not free for us. So we won't use this again, but we wanted to make sure that we could do another review for you all. It is convenient, and there are 10 stalls. So if you are desperate and you're in Philadelphia, come on down. Thanks. Bye-bye, Zach and Jesse. Love your show.
Hello, I'm here at the Murdo, South Dakota Supercharger. It's a 4-stall supercharger, a little goofy to find it, but not too difficult. We had a little slow charge from 2B and looked on PlugShare, saw someone else was having the same issue on both 2A and 2B, so we moved over to 1B and have had much better luck, faster charge. It looks like there's plenty of lodging around, not a lot of at least late night food options.
In these smaller town stops, you may need to stop by a gas station or travel center for snacks or a restroom before you get to the supercharger in overnight hours. It's something we missed in our rush to find the chargers. There is a small available restroom in the Range Country lobby, and the staff was friendly, but it's not the travel center experience U.S. drivers are used to. In the summer months, the Pioneer Auto Museum is a 10-minute walk down the road, so you could look through the past of travel while you're charging the future. In the daytime, there are restaurants nearby, and the next door Prairie Pizza opens at 5 p.m.
There's a pole between 2A and 2B that makes it a little difficult to pull in depending on how large the trucks are parked across from the charging station, so just keep that in mind. Also behind the superchargers, there are a couple little picnic tables and a little playground area that is a good spot if you need to have a picnic lunch or let the kids play around for a little bit while you're charging.
Awesome. Love it. Favorite part of the show.
Yeah. All right, and we just have 2 new superchargers this week, Jesse.
Number 246 in China is the 10-stall at the Changsha Huanya Face More in China.
Pretty good. And the last one is number 603 in the U.S., number 1440 in the world. It's the 10-stall in Mashpee, Massachusetts.
What?
So they closed the Tesla showroom store down there, but they opened a supercharger.
Awesome. Well, I have to go.
All right. And for BFREE this week, we've hit 111 businesses.
Woo!
I'm just so impressed with you guys.
Yeah.
This is awesome. This one this week is from Sunday's River Adventures. This is in South Africa, in Port Elizabeth.
Wow.
And so you can do all sorts of cool things. They have free river cruises, canoeing, and sandboarding when joining another booking, 50% off meals at our restaurant, and the Ado Elephant Park safaris. I mean, I want to do all those things.
Right. That's really awesome. So,
I mean,
for Tesla employees going on vacation,
yeah.
if you're going to South Africa,
or maybe they're gonna. I mean, they are gonna be opening stores in 2020, right? So maybe there'll be one there.
Exactly.
And for a past video, we've been doing the Mindwalk series, and so part 3 just came out last week.
Right.
And I think you should catch it if you're into that kind of thing. If you want to help plan some goals for your life,
Right.
I think you'll find it useful.
January is a good time to start planning for this year. So sit down, watch a few of the episodes. I think it really is motivating, which is really nice.
Yeah, I hope it.
It's not like it's not a whole bunch of work. It's not like, oh, great. Oh, I have to go to the gym now, and now I have to do all this other stuff. It's like, actually, you're like, oh, okay, I feel empowered.
Yeah. All right, it's time for a Patreon giveaway.
It's the Patreon giveaway.
This week, we are giving away a poster. This is from Poster Envy, which Jesse and I run. It's another one of our companies when we're not doing Tesla Time News, right? And I thought, Jesse, we should make it even better. We should sign it. First, let's give it away.
All right, let's see who's going to win this. And the winner this week is Nick Fredrickson.
All right, congratulations, Nick. Let's sign this poster for him.
right,
Make
and
it
ship it out.
unique. You know who designed this poster, Jesse?
Who?
Bobby.
Wow.
He is quite the graphic designer.
Thank you, Zach.
All right, so that is going out to Nick. Congratulations.
That's your poster. Ship it off.
Well, you made it to the end of the show. There it goes. And the cool people that you're seeing here on the end plate, these are people who gave $5 or more a month. The big names are people who gave even more.
Right. When we started this channel, I don't think we fully grasped what our goals were. I think that we were like, I want to teach people. I want to make YouTube videos that are...
Did we do a 5-year plan for it? I don't know if we did.
No, no plan.
I think we just hopped in the car.
whatsoever.
Let's go in the car and record something.
Right. Well, that's what we did. We drove across the country, and I think that really opened our eyes. I think we were some of the few... We were among the few who had, supercharged long distance, really opened our eyes to Tesla, and we were just so excited about it. And we wanted to tell people what was going on in the world, because there was just like a bunch of rumors. It was like, I heard Elon Musk is going to make another car, like called the Model 3 or something. We didn't know where this was going. And now I think we finally have, not finally now, but I mean, we've built over time a community of wonderful people like you who watch this show every week.
But did you have any idea when we started that we would have 87,000 subscribers?
No.
And the quality of people that I had
no idea. I thought that every YouTube channel had the same types of viewers. I thought that it was just a bunch of 12-year-olds all watching YouTube, and I thought, well, that's it. And I'm just kind of this weird odd man out who's watching all these YouTube channels about, space and electric cars and stuff like that. Turns out, I'm not the only one. No, we're all outliers here.
True.
I don't think that
So I mean, we're not playing Fortnite.
No, yeah, YouTube is dominated by younger people. I've looked at our demographics. We are skewed very heavily towards older people, wiser people.
Well, I mean, but our average viewer is 32.
Right.
So I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
When we're talking about YouTube, and anyway, what that has allowed us to do is to have very, I think, interesting and in-depth content that gets into the root of what is going on. And not only that, we have earned ourselves a Roadster, which we have decided to share with the world. We're going to visit people who've used our referral code. We're visiting over 300 people.
That's true.
Around the world in a Roadster.
And as you pointed out the other day when we were talking about it, that's going to be expensive.
Right. The Roadster itself is free, but that does not include the income tax to pay for a free thing. That does not count the sales tax, which you also have to pay. That doesn't count the excise tax, which you also have to pay.
Insurance.
That doesn't count the insurance. I don't know how much it costs to insure a hypercar.
Me neither.
That doesn't include the Tesla semi-truck that we are also going to be buying, and all of the associated costs with that. Doesn't include the tires for the Roadster.
Nope.
Doesn't include anything like that.
Security, lodging,
right, exactly.
food.
We can't drive around a $250,000 hypercar around the entire country without some security.
Right.
So, and we're not complaining. This is the most amazing thing that has ever happened to us, and we are so excited to do it. We're so excited to bring this to people. And this is not the this is not it. You know, once we're done visiting all these people, we're not done. We're going to have a Tesla semi-truck. We're going to have a Roadster. I want to do a mobile roving EV event where we show up and we bring all the EVs. Usually, an EV event, you have to plan it with a group of people who have a lot of cars.
Right.
You know, oh, I'll bring a Nissan Leaf. I'll bring a Model S. Okay, well, I'll meet. What we want to do is show up anywhere in rural America, in somewhere where they've never seen a Tesla, they've never seen an EV before. And I want to roll them all off the truck. We're going to have a Model X, a Model 3. We're going to have the Roadster. We're going to, you know, we've been talking with other companies. We're going to have a Unity car. We're going to have an Arcimoto. Hopefully we can convince other car manufacturers to, you know, bring their own cars.
Yeah.
We don't have to put them on the car carrier, right? You know, say Jaguar. Would you bring your I-Pace? Audi, would you bring your e-tron? And they'd say, oh, yes, absolutely. And then we say, okay, but only on the condition that you give rides in them.
Exactly.
Because that is, again, that is the crux of it. That's the thing that we figured out,
right,
is that you need to sit in the car and experience it.
Right.
And so what that could do is we'd bring the whole gambit of EVs. Anyone going to the event could just look at whatever interests them. Oh, I want a big SUV. Oh, I want a small car. And it's really made possible by our Patreons right now.
Right.
There's no way.
It all starts with you guys.
Absolutely. There's no way that we could have even considered doing this without the support that we get from our patrons. And so if you're wondering, like, why do you guys need support? It's for that. And, you know, there's no way we would have been able to even dream about doing that if we were relying on just our YouTube revenue alone. Our YouTube revenue does not even cover our editors.
Right.
It doesn't cover hardly anything. All of what makes this possible is our patrons. So I just want to thank all of them so much. Thank you so much for watching. Now you know.